Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the big news around Mastercard and what it tells us about one of the most powerful businesses in the world, a company that's literally built a fortress around the way we all spend our money. All right, let's jump right in with the breaking news that's put the credit card giants back in the spotlight after a legal battle that's been going on for years.
So you've probably seen the headlines about this huge new legal settlement between the card companies and merchants. But what's really in this deal? And why should you care about it when you're just trying to shop at your favorite stores?
Well, this deal, which is trying to put a really long lawsuit to bed, basically does two things. First, it slightly lowers these things called interchange fees. Just think of that as the small fee a store has to pay the bank every time you swipe your card. It's the cost of doing business. Second, and this is pretty interesting, it changes a key rule. Now stores might be able to offer you a little discount to use a card that costs them less in fees, so it gives them a tiny bit more leverage. But here's the thing. This isn't just about some lawsuit. To really get what's happening, we've got to pop the hood and see how Mastercard's massive business actually runs, because this story is way bigger than one single settlement. So how in the world does this financial giant actually make its money? Let's pull back the curtain on the engine that drives Mastercard, which is, you'll see, incredibly simple and incredibly powerful.
You know, an analyst at Morningstar just nailed it with this analogy. Imagine a toll booth on a massive global highway that nearly everyone has to use to get where they're going. That's pretty much Mastercard. And here's the kicker. Every single time you tap, swipe, or click, Mastercard takes a tiny, tiny slice. It doesn't matter if it's credit, debit, or a payment from your phone. They are the gatekeeper for this constant global flow of money. And the sheer scale here, it's just mind-boggling. In just 1 year, the company processes something close to $10 trillion in transactions. And that's happening in over 200 countries. It's a highway of almost unimaginable size. So when you have that much power, you're bound to have some conflict, right? And that brings us right to the core of that lawsuit we started with, this constant tug of war. For decades, it's really boiled down to this. Merchants have been fighting these fees. They're basically saying, hey, this is like a tax on every single thing we sell. But the networks, of course, they see it as the price you pay to get access to their massive global system. Now, this constant fight leads to two totally different ways of looking at Mastercard's future. On one side, you have the optimists, the bulls, who say, look, people are still moving away from cash. The runway for growth is huge. But on the other side, you've got the skeptics, the bears, who see a company that's always in the crosshairs of regulators and could face real threats from local competitors around the world. So that's the big question, isn't it? With all these powerful groups, merchants, governments kind of gunning for them, how on earth does Mastercard not just survive, but actually thrive? Well, the answer gets us to the very source of the company's incredible strength. The answer is a really powerful business idea. It's something that acts like a giant fortress, an unbreakable moat, protecting it from anyone who tries to attack. Analysts call this a wide economic moat. And the main source of that moat? Well, it's something you and I are a part of every single day. It's called the network effect. And this is where it gets really clever. It's this self-reinforcing loop, like a flywheel that just keeps spinning faster and faster. It starts with us, the consumers. The more of us that have a Mastercard, the more stores have to accept it because they don't want to lose our business. And of course, the more stores that take it, the more useful the card becomes for us. It's a cycle that just gets stronger with every new person and every new store that joins. And what you end up with is this incredible global duopoly. I mean, sure, there are other payment companies, but let's be real. Visa and Mastercard are in a league of their own. The idea of building a competing network from scratch to rival them today, it's almost impossible to imagine. And that dominance, it leads to insane profits. Because it doesn't really cost them much more to process another $1 billion in payments. The company keeps 58 cents of every single dollar of net revenue as operating profit. That's the magic of being the toll booth. Okay, so now that we get just how powerful Mastercard's business is, let's go all the way back to the beginning. What does all this mean for that big settlement we were talking about? Because now that we understand the power of that economic moat and the network effect, we can see why this settlement, which sounds like such a huge deal, might just be a little crack in the fortress wall, not a cannonball.
Yeah, the analytics is pretty blunt. Despite all the noise and all the headlines, the fortress is still standing strong. They don't see this as a major issue at all.
And the logic here is super simple, but it's also brilliant. Merchants really don't like paying those fees. But you know what they hate even more? Losing you as a customer.
As long as you want to pay with your Mastercard, stores pretty much have to accept it, fees and all. Your choice gives the network its ultimate power. So, what does this all add up to? The analyst is basically saying, look, despite the lawsuit, the long-term story here, protected by that powerful moat, is totally intact. Their valuation of the company hasn't really changed. But the story is never really over. And while that fortress seems strong enough to handle lawsuits from the old world, the next big threat might not come from a courtroom. It might come from code. So let's leave you with this final thought. What if the next great challenge to the toll booth isn't another credit card company at all, but a completely new kind of highway? You've got giants like Walmart and Amazon already looking into new digital currencies, things that could let them just drive right around the toll booth entirely. That is the real battle for the future of your wallet.